Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Beginning of the podcast. The beginning. The only time when I mention the podcast that isn't the podcast. This is the podcast called Midpoint. Good evening, good day, good morning, good every time for you folks watching. Thanks for watching. This is Midpoint, the podcast. The date is 26 January. As I say it, I realize I think it's my buddy Mike's birthday. So I need to text him after this. It will still be the 26th, but a little later. It's about 9-ish, maybe closer to 10 where I am. Wherever you are, it's your time. That's not time dilation. That's just the passage of time. And it seems to only go in one direction, but maybe quantum mechanically it doesn't. We'll find out that and more at some future date, but not on this podcast. This podcast, we won't find out much, but you find out how to be patient and listen to see if I get to a point. And guess what, folks? Twist, I will. In the meantime, I'm going to build to it. My name is Jacob White. And I'd like to take this moment at the beginning of the show to thank AOC for having this great building and these great sets of equipment. And oh, look, wait, we can't see me yet. Let's redo the entire thing. Thanks for having this strangely large arm that I'm told is cool. Let me see. Actually, I probably should have figured this out. How about this? How about that? How about I hope it wasn't scratchy that whole time? That doesn't really work, though, with the framing. Maybe if I'm over here. Shoot. I didn't really notice that you couldn't see, but wow, this may be all that the show is about, but probably not. Let's just see if this looks good. You know, I think it does. I'm looking in a different direction than I am right now, but it feels like it's cool. So if not, sorry. It's a podcast, so tab out and listen. Listen to what I want to talk about today, which is like 8 days worth of stuff, because it's been a while since my last podcast, and my last podcast was itself a failed effort. Ended in medias res, sorta, but not really, because I finished it, but it was only 20 minutes. The first one, and up till the second one, the only one, is 40 minutes. So I figured since that was the first one, that's the average length of it. But now that I'm thinking about it, talking to you, why does it have to have a specific average length? Well, because that's what an average is. But it doesn't have to be 40 minutes. So maybe this one will be shorter. I just felt like the first one, for me, was a nice set of breaths that came naturally to a conclusion, though I'm sure if I rewatch it in a year, I will think that I'm a big phony baloney full of hooey. But I'm not, folks. I'm full of the last few weeks of whatever I've ingested, art and literature-wise. So for me right now, that is, oh, well, and I guess political-wise. But the person who that is someone who, okay, this is how I'll get into what I want to talk about. I'm heading down a road here in Lafayette in a car. And as I cross a large intersection, I see Sam-dressed gentleman who is intensely haircutted and pretty cool looking on a pretty nice bright green cruiser bicycle, but he's like, he's walking it. He's like scooting it. It's a scooter, leading me to think that maybe the pedals are missing or the, crank is messed up or whatever, that it is less than 100% bicycle. And so he's just getting it to where it needs to go in its condition, to maybe like wait or administer repairs. And so this leads me on a line of thinking that I've had often, which is like, if we're going to acknowledge that that person exists and interact with them, because we could not interact with them, that's maybe we'll get on that. That's a whole different topic. But if you're going to interact with this person, then there are two main categories of stances that you can take. One is, hey, do you need some pedals? You know? Or can I help, like, get that chain back on the. What's going on? Can I, is there something that I can do to help? And the other one is, what are you doing? Who are you? Why are you dressed that way or barely dressed at all? What's the deal with your hair? That looks like you're among the in group of people I see as outside mine. And one of these ways increases wealth. One of these ways decreases wealth. Like, bottom line, look at it any, heart-wrenching way you want. It doesn't matter. The point is that rendering aid increases value. And detaining, at best, inconveniences a person and possibly, tangentially aids them at the end of whatever process you're beginning by detaining them in the first place. But it seems like our default, at least policy-wise, if not as a people, because I wonder, if that is that some globally north affluent-ish reaction, or is that just a natural human tendency? That of suspicion and xenophobia? And I think probably, yeah. I mean, but then again, we interbred with everything. The further back we go and the more we understand about our genome, we were getting it on with like multiple species that brought us to today. Good bit with the Neanderthal, lesser degree Denisovan, any number. Homo heidelbergensis, big or little, Gigantopithecus, we wanted it and are, as a result, it, if only, fractionally. So no, I don't think that's necessarily the case, that we are naturally xenophobic. I think we are naturally prejudicial. That's something that, also maybe has become colored in a way that that doesn't serve what that word means, what prejudice is, how it is like rainfall. It can provide benefit or disadvantage. Prejudice can keep you alive. Prejudice can also cause you to make incorrect assumptions, and can get you killed. That's the bottom line. Wealth and death. Those are the things that we should allow ourselves to be swayed and make decisions for. Everything else, man, that's what I just, gosh, when I listen to what people talk about and when I see what we're concerned with, I'm shocked. And I guess it's just because I am on some personal journey where I'm currently in a place where I feel less swayed by the topics of import for others. But I just don't care if someone. I don't want the coach of the Mets or whatever. I'm already getting that wrong. But whoever got a better job with a sports team, today's the 26th of January, so you can look this up, because some reporter revealed a bunch of, lewd texts, bulges, pictures sent. I think the offending party, who has been let go or removed from their particular post, which they've recently attained, sent like searched for and sent someone else's junk, which is way smarter already. Already, I think that like whatever we're gonna do to them, it should be lessened by one. As long as they paid the $5 for the gentleman's OnlyFans, if not, off with this person's head. But my point is, they did something that is probably something for which they should be and will be chastened, and that whatever text, whatever has happened, will be addressed through the course of its exposure to the public eye. But its exposure to the public eye means that the offending party will be thrice offended back and will have all manner of people who are angry for all sorts of things focus their anger on them for even a short time. The person's been fired. Maybe they should have been fired. But it doesn't make a very good place to mark in the sand if going forward we're going to make the right calls, and the people who deserve to lose access to the keys of power, or let's be honest, the ability to earn and provide for their family, then we might come to a place where those measures are even more inarticulately wielded, and where, depending on what power, perhaps this person had a little more power. Would they have been? Perhaps they had had a little less power. Would it have been a story? I guess that's a different topic. I need a little water. This is getting me going in too many directions. I didn't mean even to go off in this exact direction on the show today. Eventually, I did. But my point is degree of reaction, the very nature of accountability, how we as a society want it to be applied, the well-known biblical passage, for whatever you think of that document, better that 100 guilty persons go free than a single innocent person be punished for something that they didn't do. I feel like it's less about punishing someone for what they didn't do than to have the sort of penal mentality where people who err are punished. Is that useful? Is punishment itself useful? Certainly, in some cases, removing someone from their ability to interact with society, that seems useful. Certainly, people who seem incapable of interacting in a peaceful and productive manner with society, one would like to see energies put toward rehabilitation for those people. Those seem like pretty easy arguments to make in favor of. Retribution, punishment. I'm reminded of the South Park where they're like, you're going to make a Mexican Joker. Do you see what you're doing? Do you see the way you're treating people? Do you think that is never going to have some consequential effect? Treating people like dogs. Treating people worse than dogs, because we know if that's my dog, actually, I don't think people should be treated that well. I think that both of those dogs are kind of treated a little too well. You know what? When I get home, my dogs are in trouble. In the meantime, Pim and Donkey, you got a little while left. So go ham. Go pee in the house. I Ah, wow. I feel avuncular and old and superannuated. I think I'm just using synonyms for the same thing. I feel like a grandpa. When I get down this path of, back in my day, what was the thing that's kind of where I went with my notes for this show. Uh, but what is it? Yeah, that's what I say. We don't know how good we got it, and we got it so good we're getting too comfortable. It's I've heard the lines, and then I've heard them uh, out of the mouths of those who would say that these lines were uttered by fascists and are fascistic. I don't really think that's true, but basically that a group of people, a society, um, becomes, how does it go? How does it go? They hard times make strong people. Strong people engender good times. Good times allow for the existence of weak people, and weak people then cause make errors, and here we have hard times again. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's simplistic, and it's I'm sure there are plenty of ways to say it's anodyne tedium, and it's not worthy of being repeated, or maybe at least I should have repeated it correctly, so it would have taken up less time on the show. But there's got to be some measure of truth in that, if only ideologically. There's got to be something about discipline. I guess I'm torn when the topic of discipline comes up, because as I've gotten older and matured and just grown, I've become more disciplined. I've become more able to just do things I don't want to do, and get the things done that need to be done, so that the things that I want to happen can happen. Go on the vacation, you got to put in the hours. And so, in the one breath, I feel on a trajectory that is, more disciplined tomorrow than yesterday. But then in the other breath, I definitely feel like that is hollow, and that really the days side by side are so similar that my ability to make tomorrow better than yesterday is waning. That I'm not living up to the level of improvement that I could achieve if I reddited less and cared more, scrubbed more, planned more carefully, stuck to plans more readily. So maybe this is just the little portion in the middle of the show where, you could have gone and peed, but I'm done. There. Note to self when you're rewatching this, straighten up, buddy. But back to the topic at hand. I think that... let me get one more sip of water before I carry us to the end of the show. A large sip of water in a small space. A small breath on the airways. But so to slowly conclude, I think, how do I put this? I feel that the place where we find ourselves in relation to how we approach those who we see as having wronged, the sinners, whether it's the sin of something that is strictly against the law or against our current moral sense, or maybe what we see as, a more imminent and uh, all-pervading moral sense. Um, I fear that making sure those who are caught uh, uh, going astray of our current moral order, especially in cases where the damage done is non-physical, and I don't mean to say that psychological damage is non-physical, but I mean when the damage is at a distance. This person, was sending texts, lascivious, unasked for texts. I won't get into it anymore because, then you go down the rabbit hole and people are so interested in it. There's just reams of information, and there are people, who are maybe highlighting some of the information more than others because they want you to be suspicious of the official story. And then, of course, there are others who, are maybe wanting other information to be highlighted so that you are as incensed and, angry at the offending party as you possibly can. And so, there's universes for everyone. But it seems, gosh, maybe it just seems emblematic of where humanity has found itself in this gorge on the rocks, just dashed, of having risen so high and then, driven. We've kind of just driven off of that cliff. We part of it is just an exponential thing. I mean, I don't know. It's a fun time to be alive, and may you live in interesting times. Boy, howdy. I would like to for a while longer. But I don't think we have any idea the kind of turmoil ahead of us as a species. We're just sleepwalking, concerned with, puritanical worries. And of course, there are people who are more concerned with more existential issues and issues that more negatively affect those, within, for instance, the ambit of the U.S. or, the larger global order. I mean, case in point, immigrants coming to the U.S. for various reasons, often seeking asylum, often fleeing violence, privation, war, and want. I saw a line today, that's like so late in coming, but apt and short, and hopefully will be repeated. That immigration to a place is the sincerest form of flattery. Do you, the fact that many in the U.S. have begun to see, and sure, there's been strands of having always seen those who are coming to the U.S. from other places as bad influences, as criminals. I guess it's the same sort of frisson that I feel when we're talking about someone who gets in trouble for texting. I guess nowadays you can actually be held accountable if it makes a big enough story for something like that, for texting unacceptable things. But Gosh, maybe this isn't making much sense either. This will be episode 2.2 that also doesn't get aired like the other previous one. But for me, this way of reacting to punish if we can, rather than like render aid or find ways to correct in advance this sort of outcome from happening again. If only that's in some sort of cultural way making it easier to talk about digital abuse. You know, people being rude or vituperative or venomous or you know, outright threatening. Yeah, you know, that sucks. We need for that not to happen, but I don't know. Whatever. I just cannot worry that much when people send it. If you're really going to do something, then don't send it, right? I mean, are these the same people, the people who are going to do something violent against, you know, some object of their fixation? That's the same person as the person who's going to text something violent to them. I don't know, whatever. You know, statistics will change my mind. Show me that's not the case. But allowing people to live in a place of constant fear because of their interactions in the digital space and not instead rendering aid or the thing we talked about at the very beginning of the show, which is ignoring entirely. I think we're taking the wrong tack when we validate the internet tough guys, you know, with being scared of them or taking their threats seriously. So let's not. Don't anymore. And, you know, and if you are going to hurt someone, well, don't send the letter. Just go hurt them. And now I'm going to get. But see, I would welcome some hate mail because I would love to, you know, to love you back. So you can email me. What was that email I made that I can't remember the password to? Just email offthewallfest@gmail.com and I'll check it because I haven't checked that in a while. And that is an email that exists because me and my buddy had a festival to talk about our fun show, which we do right through there in this very building. Jacob and Paul, Off the Wall, Sundays at 5 p.m. on AOC2. Cool. There we go. Got the plug in. Got my point out. I think I'm afraid to rewatch this or watch it, right? Because I didn't really get to watch it while I was doing it. A little afraid I won't make any sense, but, you know, I guess aren't we all? I think that the true heroic stance is to just take a stance and not be worried about having to keep that stance up. If someone says, you could just say, oh, maybe so. Or you could just think that. I don't know. I think we're much too concerned with how we're taken by others. I think others would take us better if we didn't think about how we were going to be taken. Yeah, I don't know. I was going to talk about heuristics. Well, how was I going to fit that in? You know what? I'll define heuristics for those few who watched this far and are unfamiliar with the term. But heuristics is like I like to wear, clothes that match. So the way I get dressed is I pick some pants. And really, first I kind of pick socks and undies. And really, unless I'm running really low on either socks and undies or usable outfits. But usually I kind of will like pick the socks and undies, and then I get pants that match. And then that's how I get dressed. Really, is once I have the pants, half my shirts are ruled out, more, 60%. So then I pick me a shirt. But as I'm picking the shirt, I'm also starting to think about like, I want maybe like a bandana that matches that. And, well, I only have one watch with a battery in it right now, so I guess I just got to wear that one watch, regardless of if it goes with my outfit. But then if it's cold out, which thank God it's a little bit cold again out there, y'all. It's January. It felt like spring, middle fall or something out there the other day. Yesterday it was like 78 and muggy. And I was like, yeah, I forgot I live in Louisiana. But now it's kind of chilly, so I'm taking advantage. But yeah, so then I maybe pick me like a little jacket that fits. At some point, maybe I've kind of like gone all the way through and said, okay, well, if I wear this, and and it coalesces as this outfit. But at the end of the day, it's like it starts with the pants color, and that's how I wear stuff that matches. Can you see my shoes? They match. Yeah. And that's a heuristic. Yeah, a heuristic is like a tool for decision making, or what was the other way they said it? An educated guess, or a rule of thumb. Like just a way that you. Heck, a way that whenever I don't have. I guess this isn't a heuristic. This is just tacky. But when I'm measuring furniture to see if it'll fit in the house, I do this number. And then I'm like, okay, I know I don't really know how long it is, but I know that I can go do this in the house. And then I kind of, go and see, okay, how far? And, yeah, still trying to pick out a shelf for all my book. But, well, anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for allowing me maybe not to come to a more pointed point there at the end. But, I actually do these kind of journal exercises preparing for the show. And I feel like I don't really get to most of what I've said. Oh, well, that was the main point I wanted to make. Okay, well, it's not over. How long has this been going? There's no way to tell because I'm not doing this in Audacity today. I'm doing it in OBS, and yes, it is still recording, thank God. Or sorry, God, for allowing this to propagate. Okay, so the point that I wanted to get to was about being a rube, because this way of reacting to the person who's scooting down the road, who's needs pedals or a something for their bike, and because their bike isn't in fully functional order, they're walking it or scooting it. That this person, this person is like a placeholder, and that what we got to do really is to not think about how do I put this? We need to stop thinking about how we can save the world. It seems like a good thing. I was watching a Twilight Zone last night about this guy who, he's just complaining to one business after another about people that he deems as, morally corrupt, and about midway through the show, an FBI agent comes over, on some tip. Probably he's been waiting for weeks, for to be taken seriously enough to get a visit like this, or maybe he's visited often. The FBI agent, is immediately really suspicious of him and kind of wondering what he's doing there. Realized that a crank has called and complained, and asks this crazed gentleman if he's ever had any psychiatric help, to which, the main character becomes quite peeved and then lumps the FBI agent in with all of the other evil people out there. And he makes this claim. He says that at 4 o'clock this afternoon, all of the evil people will be made 2 feet tall. And he's so happy about this. He has this parrot in his well, I talked about a Twilight Zone last episode. He has this parrot who is hanging out in his room, and just kind of like enjoying the view, enjoying this person. And so finally at the end of the episode, I just mute it for about 5 seconds if you haven't seen it yet, because it's so worth watching. And I forget the actor's name, but I'll tell you when to mute. I forget the actor's name, but oh gosh, it's such a good episode. What's it called? 4 o'clock. And those old Twilight Zones are so singular and effective. They remind me of like Key and Peele sketches. They're just, almost all of them are just very refined and effective and sleek, well lit, well shot, well acted. God, what a fun thing it must have been to work on those, this weekly thing. And watching on the streaming platform that I watch on, which I assume is the original channel that it came on, CBS, the CBS All Access, which I think is going to turn to Paramount Plus soon. And they show the little button at the end where Rod Serling is either telling you to smoke Chesterfields or he's talking about the next episode, the one that they probably have shot around set, or mostly shot already, and they're gonna get, or maybe more like rehearsed it, and they're gonna shoot it, or they're gonna put it out to you next week. And so anyway, CBS All Access's platform does have that content as well, which is kind of cool to watch there at the end of the episode. But okay, so those who have not seen the episode Twilight Zone entitled 4 o'clock, mute your deal now for 5 seconds. So he turns 2 feet tall. And you can come back. And then the parrot is like, has some demonic voice. I can't remember what the parrot says, but anyway, the parrot like talks, and it ain't a parrot voice. And the parrot's like, you really are a fun guy to live with, or something like that. And oh man, it's just classic, and yet it's so apt for where we are that, like, God, man, mind your own business and do some work. And if someone needs help, give them a hand. But answering the call to help and offering to help, not the same thing. And while offering to help can come from a really pure place, it can also be a trick, a ploy to get involved in someone's life, to have power over someone. And we need to realize that. We got to become less gullible, man. That was the final point that I wanted to come to, that I'm glad I continued on and noticed in my notes, because it's so damn important. We need to be suspicious. We need to be very suspicious of what we see and what we hear as it relates to the construction of our worldview. But with that utmost suspicion, we must redouble our suspicion of those who would seek to hijack our suspicion to believe their bullshit. Because, gosh, y'all, 5G, whatever it is these days, you realize you're the bigger sucker than the person who's just generally suspicious, doesn't know how to decide what is true and what is not, because now you're buying something more outlandish because it purports to explain the whole reason why you were suspicious enough to not believe the mainstream narrative. Gosh, you only have the strength to be suspicious once. You can't be suspicious of those who say, "But here's what it really is." Huh, really? That's what it really is? It's not what it really is, but it is what this guy says. I want for those who are quick to fall into some sort of belief about any particular aspect of life, I want for those people to be welcomed with open arms into a place of civic suspicion. I'm tired of living in a place where the tactics of any outfit are divisionary. If everyone is sowing suspicion of some potential neighbor and not suspicion of belief systems, not suspicion of the status quo and what it takes to perpetuate the status quo. It's time to be suspicious as sane individuals, patient and suspicious, and not let that suspicion color our prejudice. That's the thing. We need to be suspicious of what we're made to believe are the stories of the day, and stop being mistrustful of those fellow travelers, the humans that occupy this social space that we share. That doesn't mean that you don't open your eyes, but it means you don't be a mark. You want to know who gets jumped in a place out in the world, in an urban environment? The person looking around, the person scared of everything around them, the person obviously touristing, not flaneuring but fitbitting across their unfamiliar landscape. Those are the people that become the mark. We need to be the people with open eyes who look to where we're going, not at our freaking phones unless they make a noise, and stop them from making so much noise all the time. Use the tool. Don't let the tool use you. I think that's roundly applicable to what we're talking about today. So, to end the note on as an avuncular place as I've been this entire episode, I'm actually about to put chapstick on. That's how avuncular I am. Uh, yeah, yeah. I'm even a little uncular actually, but not unctuous. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening if you listened. And thanks for continuing on this journey with me because it's really fun. And I'll be completely upfront. I'm doing this for me. I've been wanting to do something like this for a while. And if you enjoyed it or were made angry by it, I'm glad to have touched you. And you know what? It'll be open for comments down at the bottom, and maybe I'll have a, an email at the bottom before this airs or when you're seeing it. But if not, I will next episode. I need to make an email. I need to make a website. I need to make more sense and better choices. But in the meantime, I've made myself perfectly clear. I'm Jacob White. This is Midpoint Podcast. Thank you for watching.